Imagine if an AI could read a super dense textbook, not just by scanning the words, but by actually thinking like a detective. Well, today, we're diving into a new technology that teaches AI to do exactly that, unlocking the secrets hidden in our most complicated documents.
Okay, let's get real for a second. Have you ever wondered why your AI can whip up a beautiful poem in seconds, but the moment you ask it to find something simple like the warranty info in a 50-page user manual, it just chokes? It's a super common frustration, and it points to a massive challenge for AI today.
On the surface, it all seems pretty simple, right? You ask a question, the AI reads the document, and it spits out an answer. But as you can see here, that journey from question to answer is actually full of traps. Getting it wrong is easy. Getting it right consistently, well, that's where the real detective work begins for AI.
So the reason most AIs struggle is that they're basically using flawed detective methods. Let's break down the two main approaches they take, and you'll see exactly why they so often miss the crucial clues.
First up, imagine hiring a detective to solve a case, and the very first thing they do is take all the evidence, photos, reports, case files, and just run it all through a paper shredder. This is pretty much our first method. Let's call it the shredder detective.
And here's what that shredding looks like in the AI world. This method, known as text-only RAG, literally just rips the text out of the document and throws it into one big, unstructured mess of words. All that vital context, like where a table is or where a new section begins, is completely gone. So if the answer depends on that structure, the AI is totally lost. That big red X on the answer says it all. Okay, so if shredding the evidence is a bad idea, what's the alternative? Well, meet our second investigator, the skimmer detective. This one's a little smarter. They can see the layout of the evidence, but they have a really hard time connecting the dots between different clues. So here's the fundamental problem with the skimmer. This method can see the layout, the paragraphs, the tables, all that stuff, but it treats each piece like it's an isolated island. So if the key to your answer involves connecting a table on page 5 to a sentence on page 20, forget it. The AI just can't make that leap. The link is broken and the case goes cold.
So if the shredder and the skimmer just can't crack it, we obviously need a master detective. And that brings us to the solution these researchers came up with, a new approach called BookRag. The whole idea is to build a much better way to organize the evidence right from the start by creating what's essentially a web of clues. The absolute game changer here is something they call the book index. The best way to think about it is like a table of contents on steroids combined with one of those classic detective clue boards you see in the movies. It gives the AI this incredibly deep structural understanding of the entire document before it even starts looking for an answer. So how is this master index actually built? It's a really cool two-step process. First, it creates a map of the document's physical layout, which the paper calls the tree. Then, it weaves a web of connections between all the key concepts inside that map, and that's called the graph.
Let's break this down visually. Over on the left, under tree construction, the AI is just analyzing the physical layout, chapters, sections, tables. That's the skeleton. Now, look to the right, graph construction. This is where the magic really happens. The AI identifies all the key ideas and terms and weaves them into this network, linking related concepts no matter where they show up in the document. The final result you see there on the far right is the book index, a complete map of both the structure and the meaning.
Okay, so we've got our master index, our web of clues. Now, how does the AI actually use it to solve the case? This is where the investigation gets really smart. It's not just a brute force search, it's a dynamic master plan. The entire strategy is inspired by this brilliant real-world concept called information foraging theory. The idea is basically that when we search for information, we act a lot like animals foraging for food. We follow the strongest information scent, like the best keywords or related topics, to find what we need efficiently without wasting a bunch of energy. And this is exactly how BookRag puts that theory into practice. It acts as an intelligent agent that works in 3 clear stages. First, it analyzes your question and actually plans its investigation. Then, it goes out and retrieves the evidence by following those strong information scents. And finally, it analyzes all that evidence to generate the correct answer. And the planning part is so clever. The AI first acts like a detective, sizing up the case. It asks, is this a simple single-hop query where I just need to find one specific clue? Or is this a more complex multi-hop question where I need to connect ideas from all over the book? Or maybe it's a global question like counting all the figures in a section. Depending on the type, it creates a unique plan of attack to be as efficient as possible. So, the big question is, Does this master detective actually solve the case? Let's get to the results and see how BookRag really performs when it's put to the test.
The proof is right here in the numbers. In benchmark tests, BookRag hit a peak score of 71.2% for what's called retrieval recall. In plain English, that means over 70% of the time it found the exact pieces of evidence it needed to crack the case. That's not just a small improvement, it's a massive leap forward.
And this brings us right back to the beginning. Where our shredder and skimmer detectives failed miserably, BookRag, our master detective, succeeds. You can see it right here at the bottom. By using its smart map, that book index, it follows a clear plan, finds the right clues, and delivers an accurate, trustworthy answer. Case solved.
This is a huge step forward. We're moving AI from just skimming text to truly understanding complex, structured knowledge. So it leaves us with a really fascinating question. Now that AI can finally read, what vast libraries of human knowledge are we about to unlock next?